Good morning, everyone. We'll give it a few more minutes to see if others log on.
You look very serious, Ray.
Didn't realize I was on camera.
I just assume that I am at all times. When you're this good looking, that tends to happen.
Just want to give it a few more minutes. I know Leslie is going to come on and whoever else can make it to the meeting. Hope everyone's summer is off to a good start-ish. John, thank you for that email. I read the article. It's
Good.
definitely worth thinking about, right?
Yes.
I think some districts are already kind of off the record doing some of that, but there's no state standard for that. Yeah.
Understood. It's just, and it's not universally approved, but
Yeah. So for the others here, John had sent me an article where some
I,
states are,
I hoped I sent it to everybody.
oh, maybe you did. Okay, yeah, around like salaries for special ed and English learning specialists, and hoping to see an increase in like a specialized salary for them. The challenge becomes every district negotiates, has their own bargaining units where they negotiate their contracts, and so as I've learned many times in Connecticut, state mandates around things don't usually land well, but it's important that we can maybe even look into like if there's a way to maybe some point gather that data to see what are the salary stretches, around those specialists from district to district. We in Guilford have an annual town referendum, budget referendum, and it has failed twice in the last month. Um, and the opponents of it sadly are going after one of the things we've already had to cut is we were trying to add another special education coordinator at the elementary school level. It was going to be a new position, but because of the significant cuts we've had to make twice, they had to hold off on it for now.
Special or budget referenda are
Mhm.
becoming a greater and greater problem. I think we
Yes,
had 320
absolutely.
people vote in ours.
Yeah,
Uh,
and unfortunately, folks against I'm just going to say it, against any progress in our community or against, they want 0% increases but when you're self-insured and your health insurance goes up 20% for your employees, that's an impossibility. They don't care about that. So it's a small but vocal group, and they've mobilized where, the rest of us, for not us, me, but a lot of our members of our community just aren't tuned in. They are now with, two budgets voted down, but if it doesn't pass next week, we have to, by charter, we revert to last year's budget number, which would be pretty devastating. So we'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to get us started. Hopefully Leslie and others will jump in because I want to be conscious of all of your times and other schedules. And what I wanted to do today, I know we've been, and some of you have asked this question, and I think it's totally justified and fair, is, can we have a heads up about what we're discussing? Um, and so while I didn't get that out to you this time because I wanted to leave some flexibility, I wanted to go back kind of to the beginning and looking at what our tasks are at hand in terms of deadlines. And the more pressing of those two is around the special education workload analysis model. And so, our other kind of task here is around tier two, the intervention study, and that is not due till December 1st. So I just felt it was kind of within, you know, the most understandable task for us is to kind of look more so at the workload analysis model and contend, in tandem with what SDE has been doing and what we had presented to us last time. So I want to first just open it up to all of you because, while we are a subcommittee of this commission and while we are tasked with certain things, what's happened out of this legislation is that, some of these tasks are largely handed to the State Department of Education, and other entities of where we're kind of a secondary, set of eyes over it, and obviously can add input because that's the whole goal of this final report of the Bergen Commission. But I'm wondering if anyone had a chance to kind of look over that initial report that was presented to us last time and had any thoughts or input. And if not, that's fine. We're all very busy, and I understand that. Okay. So what I think, in talking to Leslie and on another, and Rep Con who oversees the entire commission, I think what would be smart to do is to let Brian, I see your hand up, and let you kind of speak to kind of what our deadlines are and our task at hand. Brian, go ahead.
Thanks, Rep Rader. Just for the group and to kind of reorient folks, CSDE has been working with AIR on the workload analysis study. It involves some focus groups, surveys, as well as expert panels in hearing from service providers, specifically special education teachers, speech and language pathologists, school psychologists, and school counselors. And so their final report draft should be coming to CSDE in a really finalized format this week. So we're on track as far as deadline. We have an internal process with CSDE once we receive that. As Rep Rader mentioned, AAR had a chance to share the overview, kind of the executive summary, if you will, and some of those recommendations that came forth about a framework versus, a specific model that each district would need to utilize. Within that framework, there are 9 essential components to doing a workload analysis within the districts at the local level. One of the interesting findings that came through this study was that some of our districts have very robust systems in place, whereas others may not. So they also did a review of the collective bargaining agreements in 30 districts. So all that's contained within the report and within that summary. So we'll be able to share that with you all in a final format very shortly.
Perfect. Yeah, and while, I think, I'm looking at the document of the task we're kind of handed, and a lot of this will hopefully be included in that report, but I think it's going to be really important for us as the subcommittee to be like that second set of eyes. Of course, you're all going to internally review it and kind of come to some conclusions and recommendations, but some sort of executive summary, I would assume, from SDE around that. And so I think it would be valuable for us as a subcommittee to also kind of have some executive summary or input in coordination with you that we can kind of lend to the Bergen Commission report. And so that would be amazing as soon as you do have it and you feel comfortable disseminating it to our subcommittee. So we have some time to look at it because July 1 will come really fast and furiously. And I want to give everyone some time to look at it so that we can reconvene in hopefully a week or so to, get people's thoughts, input, So we could perhaps coordinate a draft of an executive summary of some sort from our subcommittee. Leslie, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's reasonable?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
knowing that it's crunch time, and apologies for being late, but knowing that it's crunch time, and given the resources and the team that we have, I think it is doable.
Okay, good. Yeah. So hopefully everyone can be flexible and we will, Brian, if you have a sense, do you think it'll be this week or you think it'll be early next week to
We
get the report out to us?
we will receive it back this week from AIR.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, perfect. And so, yeah, and so hopefully we can all take some time separately to be reviewing it. Obviously, we all have everyone's emails. If there are questions that come up or something you don't understand and you want to reach out to Leslie or I or anyone else on the subcommittee, it's a great time to do so. And I think what our goal will be is once everyone's had time to review it, and kind of posit some questions, we'll bring ourselves back together for really a really open conversation. And I think from that conversation, we can kind of draft, Leslie and I'll kind of put our heads together with all the notes from all of you, put kind of an executive summary draft together, coordinate that with Brian, and then get it back to all of you for your review and comments. Kind of like a peer review process. So I think that's the best way to do it at this point, unless others have other thoughts about how they'd like to see this play out. John, I see your hands up.
Yeah, a quick question, Brian and Cynthia can answer this. You guys have something of a procedure before releasing reports like this, which adds time to the process. Would it be possible for the subcommittee to get that report as soon as you do, so that we don't, I understand that as a department, you have responsibilities to not disseminate things without having a full review of it, but I think it would be useful for this group. The sooner we get it, the better we're going to do on our job.
Deputy Commissioner, feel free to jump in. But yeah, absolutely, John. So what our thought was, and we can check in to make sure on this, because this was an external entity and a partnership that we engaged in AIR with. We would release it to you as that draft. That it's not a
Perfect.
finalized publication, but you would see the draft. Because you're absolutely right, John. We have our internal process, and then it has to be submitted to OPM before we finalize it. So knowing there could be tweaks and revisions, but for the purpose really is to inform the Bergen Commission. So it's not as though it's a legislation that was specifically um, identified for CSDE as a charge. So within the context of this Bergen structure, I think it makes sense. But Cynthia, I don't know if you have other thoughts
And
or
I,
ideas on that.
no, I totally agree with you, Brian. It makes sense, just as long as everyone acknowledges here it is a draft version. And we will then go through our internal process, which, as John indicated, our process takes time, our internal process, but that shouldn't delay what the work of this committee is charged to do. But we would just ask that, that it is a draft version, and we may tweak it based on the feedback we get as well.
If you guys would stop wasting time sleeping and spending time with your families, we could get this done a lot quicker.
It's perfect beach
Yeah.
reading, John.
Oh,
So
yes.
hopefully you'll be able to have a great background while you're reading.
Some of us nerds will actually enjoy reading it. I think that's a great opportunity we're not good. I would just ask that it be marked as draft so
Yeah.
that anybody who it lands in their hands, they understand this is a draft document and just keep it within our subcommittee for now so we can take in
Thank
the
you.
information and you guys can do your process and then we can come back together. And I think the best thing to do is just share feedback from everybody in the subcommittee with you guys, because you're going to be creating an executive summary and a finalized report. Um, and so, I think we'll draft our own kind of summary or input over the next few weeks. And then hopefully we can just be really coordinated about it so that we can meet that deadline of July 1. Leslie and I can put like a little calendar together of that offline and get that out to everybody as well. But I think we'll be okay. I mean, I'm just going to look at the calendar now and I don't want to, and if there's if there's need for a minor extension, I can reach out to the chair, but I think we'll be fine. Well, yeah, 1, 2, we have like 3 weeks from today. So if you at SD think it's not doable, please share that with us as soon as possible. And we'll reach out to the chair and see what the flexibility is around that. But just because you're internal and OPM has to have it, so I understand that can all take a bit of time.
Yeah.
Um,
Only thing that could shift is if we get some crazy email this week stating they can't meet the deliverable. I don't see that happening, but we
okay.
will be as open as soon as we get the information, we'll share either way, right? Whether they've got it done or not. I don't foresee them not meeting that deadline.
Okay, great. So if we get it this week and it's out to us, um, what would be a reasonable time that everyone feels that they'd want to reconvene to kind of go through it, ask questions, kind of vet our kind of, our high level goals of our kind of executive input on this? Do we want, to meet later next week? Do we want to stick to this Tuesday morning and see, if you guys think we'll get this like by Thursday this week, then is that enough time for everyone to kind of digest what's in the report to meet back next week? And I'm just looking at my calendar just to see. Maybe we could push it back a day or so, if everyone feels that we should be meeting next week, I do. If that's enough time for everyone. I don't see any
It
opposition.
should be, but I'm certainly not going to drive this bus, but I'm committed all day next Tuesday.
That's fine. We can find we can put out a,
And I'm happy to provide my
yeah.
comments in writing.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. If I just want to have Brian and Cynthia available so that if they've had time to look at it and we have questions, it's more of an opportunity for that. So why don't we, okay, well, we'll block out another day next week. We'll try to suggest a few times. If everyone can get back pretty quickly about their availability, we'll recommend a few different ones and then we'll find the one that works best for everybody. We'll go from there. Brian, do you have anything? Yep, go ahead.
Just quickly, for Friday is a state holiday for CSDE, next Friday. So if we could avoid
Right.
next Friday,
Right, for Juneteenth. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday I could be on possibly, but I'm out of office on Wednesday, so but that's I'll be in a place where I'd be able to jump on a virtual call.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Like I said, we'll figure maybe like Thursday afternoon, early afternoon. How does that look for everybody? Like next Thursday, early afternoon, like a 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Does that look okay? Everyone's nodding heads. Okay. All right. Why don't we? Okay. Awesome. I love the thumbs up. Thank you guys. All right. Why don't we aim for that? We'll either do 1 or 2 p.m. on Thursday. I'll just check with Mia, our administrator, to make sure that we can get that scheduled. Yeah, we'll put it in for 2 p.m. on Thursday. And then we will hopefully have all of our eyes, we'll have time to review it. And obviously, in the meantime, when you get the report, if there are questions, just email or you can text Leslie or I, and we can, or you can email directly to Brian or Cynthia, and we will go from there. But is there anything else from in terms of this report that you guys have questions about today before we kind of let everyone go? Or kind of any other things? We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna focus on this task for the foreseeable month, just so we can make sure we make our deadline. And then we can jump back into our secondary task, which is around the tier 2 interventions. Leslie, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, thank you, Representative Rader. I appreciate it.
Okay.
No, I'm glad we landed on Thursday. My Thursday's wide open. So you read my mind when you said Thursday.
Yay. All right. Seems to be good for most of us. Okay, perfect. So I'll have Mia send out an invite for 2 p.m. next Thursday. And if anything comes up in the interim, please let me know, or Leslie and Brian and Cynthia will look forward. You have everyone's email addresses, I'm assuming? Okay, perfect. So once you have that report from AIR, if you can share that with us, that would be great. Okay, great. Otherwise, I'm going to end this quickly because, like I said, you all have other important things to be getting to. Unless there's anything else to discuss, we'll meet next Thursday at 2 o'clock. All right.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you,
day.
everyone.
See you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.